The woman accidentally dropped her silk scarf on the highway. She not only acted spoiled and asked her husband to stop the car to pick it up, but also probably recorded a video to keep as a memory. Yet just as her husband went to pick up the scarf, a red SUV suddenly came speeding toward him. Because it was moving too fast, there was no time to brake and the man was violently knocked flying. Seeing her husband lying on the ground covered in blood, the woman instantly panicked completely. At that very moment, the driver George slowly walked over. After making eye contact with the woman on the ground, he revealed a deep and meaningful smile. Soon after, John was rushed to the hospital. The doctor told Anna that her husband had become a vegetable due to extremely severe injuries. As for when he might wake up, it could only be left to fate. Hearing the doctor's words, Anna felt like her whole world had collapsed. She cried as she kept apologizing to her husband lying in the hospital bed. But she still did not know that although John had become a vegetable and could not move, he could actually hear every single sound from the outside world. Right at this moment, George walked into the hospital room carrying flowers and gifts to visit. With a guilty expression, he said it was all his fault for being distracted while driving, which had led to the president becoming a vegetable. Then he repeatedly stated that he would definitely take responsibility, and that he would take good care of Anna as well as the president's company. Anna cried and told him that none of this mattered anymore. "I will make sure you spend your entire life in prison." Hearing this, George immediately dropped to his knees. It turned out that the man he hit John was actually the local underworld boss as well as the president of a powerful group. He clearly knew that without forgiveness he would not escape death. George kept slapping his own face while desperately begging to be spared. He kept calling Anna's sister again and again as he begged for mercy. He also said that if he went to prison, his elderly parents would have no one to care for them. As he spoke, he kept banging his head against the ground until his forehead started bleeding. Very quickly his actions softened Anna's heart. She said that she would no longer pursue the matter. Hearing this in his consciousness, John was completely stunned. He could not understand why his always ruthless wife had suddenly become soft-hearted. At that moment, John's men suddenly rushed in. The second in command grabbed George and was about to beat him severely, but unexpectedly Anna suddenly told him to stop. She even explained that George had not done it on purpose. Hearing the boss's wife, the second in command was also stunned for a moment. If it were before, this driver would have probably already been thrown into the sea. Inside his mind, John shouted desperately for the second in command to kill him, but sadly no one could hear his voice at all. Because the boss's wife had already spoken, the second in command could not continue. Anna drove all the subordinates out of the room. Then she slowly helped George up from the ground. Taking the opportunity, he grabbed Anna's hand and said he would definitely repay her. At the same time, he looked at John on the hospital bed and said, "You are just a woman. Taking care of him must be exhausting. From now on, let me help you take care of him." Anna told him to get out immediately. "Otherwise I will not be polite to you." Unexpectedly, he grabbed her hand and said, "Your hands are so soft and delicate. How could you possibly do such rough work? From now on I will stay here and serve you like a servant at your command." Hearing this, John shouted furiously, telling him to let go of his wife's hand. However, no matter how hard he shouted, no one could hear him. At this moment, Anna quickly pulled her hand back. Seeing her slightly shy expression, George immediately realized he had a chance. He moved closer to Anna and said in a low voice, "Actually, I stayed here all for you. Your husband has just fallen into a coma and those subordinates may not obey you. If something really happens to your husband, what if those men rebel?" John desperately warned his wife not to fall for this man's tricks, but Anna could not hear him at all. She even completely believed this smooth-talking man. George then told her she could try borrowing money from those subordinates as a test. If they refused, it would mean they had ulterior motives. After hearing this, Anna felt it made a lot of sense, so she stood up and walked outside. As soon as she left, George instantly changed his expression. He sat beside John and said, "Today really feels amazing. I actually hit someone as important as you. It seems this is my best chance to rise across social classes." Hearing this, John was so angry his teeth clenched tightly. He swore in his heart that once he woke up he would teach him a harsh lesson. George stood up and said to John, "You are lying on this hospital bed, unable to do anything. Your wife, your child, and all the money you earned have no one to enjoy them. From now on I will work hard to take care of your wife and child for you, and conveniently spend all that money for you as well." John was already furious beyond control, but as a vegetable he was completely helpless. George picked up the flowers from the ground and pulled one out. He said to John, "Actually, I know that vegetative patients can hear, but even if you can hear, what can you do? From today on you will lie here and watch how I take your wife for myself." He even arrogantly said, "I will need at most 5 days." But he had no idea that George's retribution was about to arrive very soon.